because it was creating such big mushroom clouds when they blew up giant ammo depots with sarin warhead tips. And then all of the troops, they wore tape on their uniforms. They wore tape on their tanks and on their Humvees and on their Bradley fighting vehicles. It's white tape with black stripes down it. White tape with black stripes down it. And it's white when there's not a chemical weapon. It gets stripes when there are. And the chemical weapon detectors, the fancy ones in Humvees went off. That were actual chemical sensors. The tape all got stripes, and they came on the news and said those were all false positives. Your tape malfunctioned. And then we saw the congressional hearings of them wheeling in Marine Corps captains and colonels and others in wheelchairs. Remember all that footage? And Army officers saying, "I believed in my country. Now I'm dying. The nerve gas." And then, remember, it came out years later, they did autopsies on the thousands and thousands that died, and their brain stems were full of sarin. The globalists knew full well. They're like, well, the UN weapon inspectors are about to come in here after we take it over. We got to blow all this stuff up we sold them. And so they blow up over 100. And I've had Dr. Doug Rocky, who was involved in it, head of the DU program, on. Most of his team is dead or dying. What is it, 20 years later? And he's corrected me when I said dozens of large bases. He said, no, it was over 100. Blowing them up, sending demolition teams in with old, rotten, plastic hazmat gear. That stuff isn't brand new and perfect, folks. You're deader than a hammer. It'll soft kill you. If you don't drop dead right there, it'll soft kill you later. But did they want to give health care to all those people? Absolutely not. And so if you look at the numbers of birth defects, it's triple to quadruple, depending on the service you look at. It's 15 times the world average for deformities in places like Fallujah. So there's sarin, VX, mustard. The list goes on and on. Blown up. But the frontline troops who blew it up, they were at least in rotten. You know how water hoses get old and break up? Well, same with the plastic. I've talked to so many troops, seen the video, where they just put them on. They would rip in minutes walking. Gas mask that didn't work. And they tell them, all right, get back 2 miles. We're going to detonate it. Dude, boom, 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 boom. A mushroom cloud. Chemical weapons detectors all over the region. Alert, alert, alert. Don't worry. No, there's no nerve gas. But go ahead and get in your hazmat suits in 130-degree weather. And so the troops were soft-killed. And the Pentagon, the lawsuits have been filed, the documents in the last 20 years have come out that they full well knew what was happening because there'd been a change in policy. So what if the troops breathe nerve gas? We'll just say that they died of natural causes. So what if they die a week later, a year later, 5 years later, 20 years later? So what every time they do an autopsy that the brainstem is filled with sarin? Why do you think most of these men and women who believe they were fighting for America get neurological disorders? And then they'll just give them a name for it and say, oh, no, you naturally got this. But then good scientists, good coroners ask the widows, may we look at your husband's brain before you bury him, before you embalm him? And they say, sure. In some cases, women as well. There's been congressional hearings on this, and they go in and take their poor little brain out, and it's shriveled. And you read the reports, brain is necrosed, tissue tested, brain, completely adulterated with nerve gas precursors that have broken down in the human metabolic system, highest concentrations in brainstem. And when they'd go in, guys who could bench press 350 pounds, perfect shape, captains, colonels, you name it, tough guys. They're like, oh, my muscles all dissolving, I'm shaking. And they're like, you're fine. A month later in a wheelchair, help me, please help me. They're like, there's nothing wrong with you. Time for you to go in the casket now. Or the teams that had to clean up the DU like Doug Rocky, rashes all over him, vomiting diarrhea for years, teeth falling out, his men dying around him. He's had 30-plus surgeries. The guy's like Darth Vader now. He's having surgeries almost every month to battle, and the cancer's being removed, and kidney surgery, and liver. But he still comes on this show and fights and travels all over the country. During the breaks, he gets back on air, mans up. You can't even tell the guy's dying. Blood just starts pouring out of his nose routinely, skin just flaking off and falling. Oh, DU's not going to hurt you. He's like, I'm a physicist. I wrote the book on this stuff for you guys. We've got to, you know, why did you use it? You're not supposed to. Get in there, Doug Rocky, Vietnam, combat vet, you name it. One of the main guys that trained police and military and the cadres that train everybody else on WMD. And they just write him off. Just write him off. And why have I told you this historical account? Because they'll send NATO, UN, U.S. troops into Tripoli. And there's a good chance he's going to fire off a bunch of Scuds and a bunch of artillery. And when that nerve gas hits the general population, it's going to kill them. And when the troops get hit with it, if any of it gets through their suit, it's going to kill them. Maybe a week, maybe 10 years, but it's going to kill you. And when it kills you, they're going to say, sit down and shut up. Nothing's wrong with you. And nobody's going to talk about who sold Muammar Gaddafi most of his chemical weapons. It's on record the British are the biggest sellers to him. He's got a high-tech weapons arsenal compared to even Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein had a pretty powerful arsenal, but it was badly coordinated until the 1991 war when it was almost all destroyed. He had almost nothing by 2003. The inspectors had been there for 13 years, 12 years, tearing everything up. Gaddafi's been there since the late 1960s. What, 1968? Gaddafi's had all that oil money. Gaddafi has got that place ringed as a ring of death. And the CIA and the globalists may control the mob in the street, a lot of them who have legitimate beefs, but now they're going to have to dig out the military. What they're hoping is that as the fleet prepares to invade and start bombarding his hardened emplacements, that they can knock out those weapons, but they're still going to leak. And they're hoping then his military defects, and then he falls that way, and then the international I-4 force, that, by the way, was in the Ottawa Citizen 2 days ago. They're preparing an I-4 international force for the U.S. and Canada. I tell you, man, they have got this whole thing. One day, when we have a big war with Mexico, and the globalists and the Ford Foundation trigger the Mecha La Raza teams that they've got in this country for unrest. And don't worry, though, the International Stabilization Force is going to stop the ethnic warfare, just like in Serbia. This is how the globalists operate. So I'm going to tell the military something again. Last year, AP and Bloomberg reported, we covered it ad nauseum, that in 1999, they signed a secret deal with the VA to keep their people in the dark and to take the death benefits of World War II vets right through current vets. So that when your husband or wife who's been putting money into that life insurance policy dies, they send you a fast one and say, sign this form, and then you sign it, and then you never get any money. It says, sign this form to get your money. The government allows them to do that. It tricks you, and then you don't get the money. Folks, they're robbing the veterans' death benefits they paid for, their insurance policies. They let them breathe nerve gas and die and don't give them aid.
We all know that Berkey water purification systems are the most trusted name in water filtration. As an authorized Berkey dealer for over 5 years and serving thousands of satisfied customers, the Berkey Guy offers amazing specials for Berkey water filtration systems. The Berkey Light systems include a set of self-sterilizing and recleanable black purification elements that purify water by removing chlorine, pathogenic bacteria, cysts, and parasites to non-detectable levels and remove harmful chemicals such as herbicides and pesticides. Order the Berkey Light system today, complete with 2 black Berkey elements for only $209, and the Berkey Guy will include 3 sport Berkey water bottles and ship everything to you free of charge. That's right, 3 sport Berkey water bottles and free shipping. An $87 value, yours free. Call the Berkey Guy at 1-877-886-3653. That's 1-877-886-3653. Or order online at GoBerkey.com. That's GoBerkey.com today.
Hundreds of nations have fallen to tyranny in the last century alone. This is our last chance to not relive history.
As they're finishing off this agenda, they'll be pulling the rug from underneath Americans at home.
Have tremendous influence on our president and Congress, and they really are calling the shots.
I think it's incumbent upon all of us as American citizens to pay attention.
Fall of the Republic identifies the enemies of our nation, the criminal offshore cartel, hell-bent on destroying sovereignty, and on its ashes constructing world government.
Tim Geithner, Bernanke, they're arsonists. They're asking for more matches. And the Congress is saying, who do we make the check out to?
Today seems like nobody does care. And right now in Washington, D.C., we have seen a fall of the Republic.
Get your copy of Fall of the Republic on DVD at Infowars.com or watch it online right now in super high quality at prisonplanet.tv.
This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Gun sales are on a staggering pace. Gun prices are going through the roof, and that means desperate, vicious criminals now want your guns and will do anything to get them. Now, a new book reveals powerful secrets for hiding your guns from thieves and looters. You'll learn step-by-step, battle-hardened techniques, where to hide your guns so criminals will never find them, how to create the perfect hiding place, as well as the places you should never hide your guns, under any circumstance. These and other closely guarded gun caching secrets are guaranteed to keep your weapons safe and out of sight when the going gets tough. But listen up. For security reasons, the Hide Your Guns book and even the website may disappear without warning at any time. Go to hideyourguns.com. That's hideyourguns.com. Or call 877-327-0365 before they come for your guns. Hideyourguns.com right now. Right now.
A few program notes here. Charlie Sheen is on during the third hour today. He's a friend of mine. I asked the audience to pray for him. He's been a frequent guest in the last 6 years here on the show. He's a good guy who'd been sober off and on almost completely for a decade. All the times I've spent with him, all he does is research the news and give to charity and spend time with his family and doesn't drink. Didn't ever use drugs. And then he got in with some folks and kind of fell off the wagon, but he is clean. When I was out at his house, and I can talk about it now because other people have already talked about it, it's on record. But I mean, they had his counselors there, and he just wanted his friends there to, help him, and his baseball buddies and people, and other Hollywood folks. And he's just exercising every day at 7 in the morning. He's sometimes a couple times a day. He's putting on weight. But in the 6.5 years I've known Charlie, he's got the most energy I've ever seen. And I've noticed it's the same way with myself. Only a few times have I completely kicked coffee, which is a powerful drug. And about a week after, I'm totally tired for a week. A week later, my brain works so much better. I have so much more energy. Dozens of times I've kicked tobacco. Started playing baseball with friends when I was like 10, 11, 12. And by 12, they'd have their brothers, Levi Garrett, Redman, chewing tobacco. And I would try to do what was cool and get sick the first few times. And pretty soon, you want that chewing tobacco. Pretty soon, you're like, hey, can I give your brother $5? Because he's old enough. He's 18 to go buy me some Redman. And, I mean, it's a horrible drug. So, I mean,